Hello. Hello and welcome to Catholic Alpha Radical Live, the podcast that helps you fix your Catholic marriage while also giving you winning tactics for marriage problems, girlfriend problems, intimacy problems for men. But moreover, my main mission is to keep you out of divorce court. And with Marriage Unchained, the art of one flesh, divorce combat coaching is the flavor of the day, while also helping me understand marriage and courting, not dating, in the Catholic faith. Why? Because dating is for sex and courting is for marriage. In this 220th episode, how men encourage disrespecting their home and family, part 2, plus live phone calls from you answering your marriage and crisis questions. So get that queue at 313-723-4225. And please remember to give back if you want to help others in their marriages by sharing the show and also giving it a big thumbs up. So get in that queue for some resolution to your marriage confusion. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. And so we have the quote of the day, and let's do this. Quote, wives and husbands, be subordinate to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives should be subordinate to their husbands as to the Lord. For the husband is head of his wife, just as Christ is head of the church. He himself, the Savior of the body. As the church is subordinate to Christ, so wives should be subordinate to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ loved the church and handed himself over for her to sanctify her, cleansing her by the bath of water with the word, that he might present to himself the church in splendor, without spot or wrinkle, or any such thing, that she might be holy and without blemish. So also husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one hates his own flesh, but rather nourishes and cherishes it, even as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. For this reason, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak in reference to Christ and the church. In any case, each one of you should love his wife as himself, and the wife should respect her husband. End quote. Ephesians chapter 5, verses 21 through 33. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me to help you in yours. Get live Catholic marriage help Tuesday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, for some resolution to your marriage confusion. And so we are to our second part of disrespect in marriage. And that is Ephesians 5. That's coming from scripture itself, sacred scripture. And so that means that is for believers. So remember, the Bible is created for believers, not atheists. So that's why you really don't tell somebody to go read the Bible. They need to be formed and educate them, because when they read it, they're not going to really get anything out of it. Why? Because, well, Christ is not in their life. So with that being said, that's why we need people in our lives to help bring us to scripture, to help explain it, to help understand what we're going through. Okay. So I want to focus on for a couple of seconds about verse 33 in Ephesians 5. And it says, in any case, each one of you should love his wife as himself, and the wife should respect her husband. Okay, so right off the bat, we're getting to something that St. Paul is telling us right off the bat, that we are to love our wives as ourselves, just as Christ loved the church and our wives, and we are to die for our wives, just as Christ died for his bride, which is who? The church. This is one of the reasons why the church is not is it is a building. It is a religion. It is where we're supposed to go every Sunday. It's not a form. It is not abstract. The church is the church where we assemble in mass every week. Why? That's because that's the way Christ wanted it. That's not the way we want it. Okay, so people who say, "Well, I'm not gonna go. Church is not in the building." That's not true. That's not what Christ said. If you could prove it to me, please do. Comment right now or send me an email. Okay. So that being said, though, men are supposed to die to themselves as Christ died to the church for their wives. So die for your wife. Okay. So women don't understand that. They think, well, I'm supposed to subordinate myself to him and all that. Yeah, you are. Why? Because he's the one responsible for the family in judgment, not you. See, this is the reason people don't really understand. There's a hierarchy in the church, there's a hierarchy in the government, there's a hierarchy in business and corporations for a reason, because somebody is ultimately responsible for that NFL football team. And usually it's the head coach. That's why the head coach gets dumped when things don't go right. They don't start firing all the players and start firing all the assistant coaches and stuff. First people that go is the coach. And so in your family as a man, a husband, a wife, and children, the husband has the authority for God, not because he really wants it, because that's the way God set it up. And at his particular judgment, when he sees Christ upon his immediate death, all of Christ is standing right there and saying, hey man, he's going to be judged on what he did and he did not do in his family. That's why women are not charged to that. Now they're not responsible for that. Why? Because women are responsible for who? The children. Because they don't have the time and the resources like that to go and do all of that what a man's supposed to do, and then do what women's duties too. Everybody knows what I'm saying is the truth. But in this liberalistic, selfish world, everybody tries to act like that's not true. But it really is. It really is. And it also works better. Okay. So this is why Christ is saying that he's making it clear. St. Paul is making it clear that men are the leaders and the servers of the family because they're equal. The wife is the equal, but she has her role and her job to do, and she doesn't have time for all that other stuff. And as a man, we must give it to her. So in that 33rd verse, it says, wives must respect their husbands. Again, like I said yesterday, it says nothing about love because that's what men thrive on. Ladies, if you want your husband to love you, you got to respect him. If you don't respect him, he's going to start hating you. And that's what you really want. You're bonded to him. You had children with him. He's the father of your children, and you're not going to respect him. You chose him. So what does that say about you? Ladies, what does that say about you when you have a husband and you don't disrespect him? You chose him and married him. You told God, this is the man I want to be. And you said in sickness and in health. That don't mean when the emotional connection's gone, or he don't treat me right, or he's neglecting me or whatever, and I get all emotionally crazy and want to flatten his tires and not make love to him and all this kind of stuff. Now, of course, the man has to be what? In order for your wife to follow you, gentlemen, what does that mean? That means you must emulate Christ. You must die to your wants, desires, and needs. That's what St. Paul's talking about. Die to yourself as Christ died to the church, for the church. That means you never, as a man, which is authentic masculinity, which is what Christ talks about, which is who Christ is, we do not think about ourselves. Because when we start thinking about ourselves, all of a sudden, God, our wife, in our marriage starts to become way on the back burner. And you can never be fulfilled and happy as a man like that. Okay. And so what we're going to do, as yesterday, we're going to review the 4 ways men lose respect. And then we're going to get into part 2 of why we're here today. Okay. Which is to help men to understand how to regain and put in boundaries to get their wife back, to get their wife and their children to understand that we're no longer going to take disrespect. We're no longer going to take people being unmannerful. No more we're going to take people not having class and being rude and things like that in the home, calling folks names and arguing and fight with folks. That's not how a family's supposed to be. That's not how a good family's supposed to be, and that ain't and a bad one either. Everybody has to learn to stop thinking about themselves, and the only way to do that is the father and the husband gets his act together and starts putting in boundaries and saying, no longer are we going to have a marriage like this. Now, in the end, your wife, she's a grown person. You can't make her do it. You really can't. But what you can do is still have boundaries to make it very uncomfortable for her. And then as a grown woman, she can do whatever she wants, because in the end, she is responsible for her own soul. She's the one that has to stand before Christ and make a case for why she ruined and split up her family. Gets deep, don't it? Yes. So, review from yesterday. How do husbands and fathers lose respect? Number 1, they allow their wife and children to treat them badly. Number 2, they agree and put up with behavior that damages their marriage or parent relationship. Okay. Number three reason that men encourage disrespect in their home and their marriage is they say one thing and do another, hypocrisy. And number four, um, needy behaviors designed to control our wife, which is a needy insecurity, whatever you want to call it, is very unattractive to women, and eventually they will withdraw from you. So I'm gonna go off key a little bit and tell you what needy behaviors are. These things right here push your wife away, and what they do is they make it makes her look at you not as a real man. Guys today don't understand that, um, because they don't understand that because we are conditioned to think about our emotions. Okay. Um, and so right now my video is probably going to freeze, but you still should hear me talking. So hang with me. Okay. I'm out in the boonies, so my internet goes out sometimes, but it'll come back. So with that being said, so these are the things that show that you're needy in the eyes of your wife, and in the eyes of your children, and things like, but especially your wife. We're not talking about kids right now. So these things are show that hurt your masculinity, and they show that you're not being the man that you should be. So number one is arguing with your wife, bickering with your wife, debating back and forth with your wife, criticizing her, trying to control your wife and the thing that she does, correcting her behavior. Like when she does something wrong, first thing you do is correct her. Um, the other thing is blaming her for everything. So if nothing's ever your fault. The other thing is complaining and whining and bitching. You know that right there is going to get is really, it shows that you're acting like a child, not a man. Verbally attacking and defending. So you verbally attack your wife and call her names and blah 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 whatever, and then she comes back and says, "Well, I might have did that, but you did this." So what do? You sit there and defend yourself against her attacks, and then when you get done defending yourself, you do what she just did, and you throw back you throw back stuff in her face. Okay, and then reminding her of past wrongs. Which means what? She did something 20 years ago and you're still bringing this stuff up, or she had an affair 5 years ago and you said you was going to forgive her, but you never did. And, your wife is not doing the things that you think that she's supposed to do. Okay. So that is called reminding her of past wrongs, which a lot of men don't do that, but most women do. Okay. And then the last one is stopping the need to defend yourself. Remember when Christ was up there with Pontius Pilate, and the Jews was talking about crucify him, crucify him. Pontius Pilate said, "Hey man, come here, man. Let's go back here and have a talk, man. Let's go talk. Now, look, man, what did you do? Tell the truth, man. What did you do, Jesus? What did you do?" Jesus didn't really say nothing. So he goes, "Okay, man, I want to save you, but you gotta let me know or give me a reason to." So then Jesus don't really say much. So they go back out on the thing. The Jews start talking about crucify me, and Jesus just stands there because he knows that they're gonna do, no matter what he says, they're gonna crucify him anyway. It's like when somebody puts a knife to your head or puts a gun to your head, and they say, deny this or tell me the truth or whatever, and then they're gonna kill you anyway. So why even tell them anything? So that's kind of how defending yourself in an argument with your wife is. It's like women are very emotional, and when they get hurt, they don't really care what you're trying to say. They just want you to listen to them and let it come out. And then if they ask you, well, what are you gonna do? Then you kind of tell them one time, "Hey, I didn't do that," and then that's really it. You don't go back and debating back and forth and fighting. Okay. What most men do is what I said. They do all full out arguing and stuff. They go back and forth with their wife. They defend themselves and they attack again and all that kind of stuff, and don't accomplish anything. Matter of fact, the question always is, as a husband, do you want to be right, or do you want your marriage and family back? And that's kind of where it goes. You can sit there and argue with your wife for 20 years, but eventually she's going to leave or you're going to leave, and you didn't accomplish anything. You wasted 20 years. Okay. So that being said, I'm not going to a break because I already did that. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down here and we're gonna start part 2 of what we're going to. So now we read our review. We understand what disrespect is, that it's against God, right? In the scripture. And it's also against the fourth commandment when it comes to children. So we talked about that in depth yesterday. And we talked about wife in depth with that yesterday. So if you want to review, get the whole show, then go to episode 219, which you get that on Rumble, Facebook, or Catholic Alpha Radical. Eventually it'll be up on my website, but it ain't up there now as I just did it yesterday. Okay. So with that being said, the fourth commandment is broken when kids disrespect their fathers. Again, you never let your kids disrespect you or their mother. If they disrespect you, they're going to eventually disrespect their mother. They're eventually going to disrespect the teachers and the police and the authorities. And, society will get your kid under control. Okay. Remember, kids do grow up. And if we don't get a hold on them while they're young, then what they do is carry those habits out into society. Okay. So encouraging respect and love, which is consequences. So even though your marriage may be in a bad way, consequences for disrespect must be implemented immediately. So that right off the bat, boundaries. There has to be consequence for disrespect. Why? Because if you let a person, we'll just stay inside the family unit. If you let your wife disrespect you or your kids disrespect you, they become comfortable and then they will keep on disrespecting you until you do something about it. That's just how it rolls. Okay. Kids are really a lot easier to get under control than a grown woman is. Kids, if you start out early with them and let them know they respect you and respect your wife, you usually don't have respect problem with kids. Okay. They learn to butt and they lip. That's why you don't debate back and forth with kids, people. Because when you get out in the real world and you at work, you can't be sitting there arguing debate with your boss every day because there's a machine, there's a factory line that needs to be done, there's a job that needs to be done, a car to be sold, a business to run. And I ain't got time to be sitting there debating back and forth with somebody who don't know how to take orders. Okay, you debate back and forth inside of meetings and you try to work things out then. But you ain't got time to be sitting there and letting some whiny person slow down production and things like that. This is why if we don't teach our kids how to be respectful and to button their lip and shut their mouth when they're young, they're gonna go out here in society and you can't talk to them about nothing. And they get fired. They don't have no kind of relationships. They get divorced and stuff like that. And their kids grow up like that. Okay. This is why it's important that there must be consequences for disrespect on the child's level and definitely on your wife's level. Okay. And so boundaries must be at the forefront. Example, you must be willing to leave the home, willing to kick somebody out, willing to partially separate, willing to take your child's phone or not getting them anything for Christmas. Oh, don't get my child none for Christmas? Jerry, are you crazy? Of course, you don't reward somebody, a little spoiled brat, buy them 25 gifts for Christmas. And then that's telling them, well, the way I've acted all year is really good. You don't give them none for their birthday. You don't get them none for Valentine's Day. You don't get a kid none for nothing, for nothing. Why? Because if they can't learn to be a respectable adult or a respectable child to their mother and father and those around them, they don't deserve nothing. What are we teaching our kids when we do that? And I'm gonna tell you, one of my kids, he went a few Christmases and get nothing, and you know what? It helped him. He talks to me and his mother about that now sometimes, about how he didn't get stuff for Christmas or his birthday or he's on punishment stuff. Because man, I had the kind of kid, man. He was the kind of kid, man. If you didn't punish him, dude, he was gonna run your house, dude. You ain't home and he's run over his mother, and all this kind of stuff. And he was a good kid at heart, but man, he was one of them kids that he's always doing something that he behind your back and stuff. He gets caught. And so you can't let this stuff go. One thing I say, none of our kids were ever disrespectful, not one time to us. First of all, I ain't taking it. But there are other ways the kids are disrespectful too. What do? They go behind your back and do things they ain't supposed to do, stuff like that. Or they get in trouble in school, or they get D's and F's in school and stuff. You can't, as a parent, you can't let that stuff go. You just can't. What do you teach? What are we teaching them? You know, that's what I'm saying. So another boundary is consequences stop our spouse from taking us for granted. Another, again, would you accept this behavior from a woman you were initially dating? Surely not. You would dump her in a hot minute, right? Think about you guys right now that are getting disrespect from your wife. No matter what you did, no matter what you did, you messed around on her, you screwed the finances up, whatever. It doesn't matter. You apologize, you try to do better. So first of all, if you don't apologize and try to do better and don't do the same thing over, your wife is not going. She's going to be like, okay, I didn't try it. He's not listening, and then that makes other problems come. But if your wife treated you when things go wrong when you were dating, you would not have married her. Because you'd be like, dang, man, all I did was look at another woman a little longer. You just taking this on for 2-3 weeks, talk about I look at that other woman. Stuff comes out. I know a guy who has some kind of mental disorder, and he dated his wife for like 2 years, dude, and he hid it. And he was one of them kind of guys that complained about everything. He got a problem with everything, kind of a bitcher and whiner. And he was real bad at it. I mean, he was bad. And he hid it for 2 years. So she thought, oh, he's so sweet. The wife was like, oh, he's just so sweet. Oh, and she married him and everything. All of a sudden, they get married, man, and all hell breaks loose. All hell breaks loose, y'all. He's like complaining about everything she does. She can't go do nothing. Every time she goes, he's like got to know exactly where she at. Not because he's worried about her or trying to make sure she's all right. That's legitimate. But like, everybody, what are you doing? Who you with? Like, dang, man. Like, she couldn't do anything. And so this is kind of what I mean on that. So taking your spouse for granted. Also, imagine if you knew you would not get evicted if you refused to pay your rent. How often would you actually write a check out of a 12-month lease? So that's what I'm saying. Disrespect, which we're talking about, has to have consequences. Because if you don't pay your mortgage or pay your rent, they just go, oh, don't worry about it, man. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. We got you, man. Just pay it next month. Right? I mean, how long would that last? Right? With a rental agreement, they come in, you don't get 30 days, man. They come into your button by the 10th. They're like, hey, you got to go, So things require consequences. Discipline is not what you do to someone, it's what you do for someone because you love them, right? So next, insert boundaries instead of arguing or stop feeling like a doormat. So another time too is if we don't put in boundaries, people make us feel like doormats. I know wives that if the guys in my program didn't put boundaries in, they mad. Because when women get mad, and I'm talking about wives now, I'm not talking about men in this sort of instance. A lot of women, when they get mad and hurt, they feel they can treat you any old kind of way and do all kind of stuff. They're rebelling. They're mad. They're hurt, right? And so what they start to do, the guy starts to treat him nice. He realizes he did wrong. He's trying to make things better. And so the woman goes, oh, wow, he never did this stuff before. So then she starts treating him like he's a doormat, like using him and stuff. And we ain't having that, right? We're not having that. Okay. So at first it will seem that you need to keep arguing, complaining, or blaming or discussing your marriage problems to get results. This is an illusion and will continue to cause more damage unknowingly to you and your wife. Inserting boundaries in the skill of agreement, responding to what is true and emphasizing with it and empathizing with it and ignoring what you don't agree with to prevent arguing and encourage cooperation will accomplish more in a shorter time than decades of arguing will. I'm not saying that this right here, that this technique is a know all be all. What I am saying is it's the best option you got. Because I'm going to ask you, those of you who argued with your wife even one time, where does it really go? People think, well, because she don't say nothing, well, I won the argument. That's not true. a lot of people these days, they'll just be quiet and say, man, he's an idiot, and I'm not going to respond no more because he ain't listening no way, right? Okay. So that is an infallible, thought on a man's end. But I tell you what, arguing back and forth and bickering and debating and trying to win an argument, man, is worse. Because what happens is somebody's going to get hurt. Somebody I don't mean physically, I mean mentally, their emotions. Somebody's going to get hurt. No matter if you win the argument or not, there's going to be resentment. Now, when you first start doing arguing stuff and debating back and forth and criticizing and stuff like that, your wife really loves you and cares about you, and she don't want to upset you, so she'll just kind of like let it go. And if you apologize, she'll say, okay, I was wrong too, and blah blah blah, right? But if you, over the years, if you keep arguing and fighting, your wife ain't taking apologies no more because she didn't say, well, man, you've been treating me like, well, this is an example, y'all. I'm not saying you're doing this. What I'm saying is, for years you've been treating me like this and you ain't getting no better. Every time you lose your temper, you feel you can just go off on me. And that's another thing about disrespect. Like when men or people or anybody, a wife and a husband, start losing their temper and they don't have any consequences, then what happens is, man, they just keep disrespecting their spouse forever. Like this, like whenever I get mad, I have the feeling, I feel I have the right to go off on my wife. Okay, that is crazy. That's crazy. But people do it all the time. Women too. Guys are my thing, like I just said. The wife, she's mad, she's hurt right now. She feels whenever she don't feel right, or whenever she has a tick up her butt, that she could just treat her husband, take it on her husband. Then what happens is, then they start taking out on the kids. Equal opportunity, right? Women are bad, man. Women are bad. They hurt you with words. Men, when men get mad, they hurt you with their fists. At least you can endure the beating and be over. Women, well, they just keep going on and on and on and on. So that's what you got to have. Okay, now, so basically, when you're arguing, instead of sitting there arguing with them, you do the agreement method. And the agreement method is, man, you agree with what you agree with, and you don't say anything about the stuff you don't agree with. Why? Because you want. That's the only way to stop arguing. That's why those things I listed earlier about blaming and criticizing and defending yourself and all of that, that's why you shut up. You got to learn how to control yourself like Christ did. You have to, because that is Satan in your head getting you to open your mouth when all you got to do is be quiet and calm down for about 10 seconds and let her just finish, and then don't respond to the stupid stuff. That's how you win. That's how you win. And then another thing too, I look at it like this. It's okay for a man to lose and get his feelings hurt, because men, we kind of bounce back. Even the whiny, emotional men today. If you hurt our feelings, we just kind of bounce. We're like, how when you was your kids, you and your best friend get in a fight, and then the next day y'all friends again. Women ain't like that, right? It's for a reason. They're emotional. The logic don't like. For a man, we go, man, it don't make sense to be mad at my friend like that. We just had whatever, man. Next time we send, hey, babe, what's up? Women ain't like that. And so this is why it's important for you as a man to realize the more you keep opening your mouth, the more you keep disrespecting her, the more you keep arguing and calling her names. And guys, I don't call her names. Yes, you do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. By the way we act, our tone of voice, all that kind of stuff is the same thing as calling her name. Okay. And so with women, you just got to let them get it out, man. Let them get it out, man. And so they don't feel, yeah, you might win the argument, dude, but then what happens is she holds it against you. She resents you. Like at first, when you're first married, like I said, you can apologize and be cool. But after a while, man, after years of stuff of that stuff, man, your wife gets upset. Like, I'm not taking the apology no more, right? So when we insert boundaries, a key component is inserting empathy and sympathy with a brief explanation of why, aka loving messages, and to always treat your wife friendly and with respect. This is the problem many men do. And I'm talking about men. Because we have, deep voices, we're bigger, we're stronger, our body language can, because we're more massive than a woman. When she sees us, she sees this big old dude, right? and our body language, our tone of voice, and how things come out of our mouth, if we don't, when we put in boundaries, if we don't have loving messages behind that or with that, our wife's going to take it the wrong way. So, if you put in a boundary like, hey, we're not going to have no more disrespect in the house. That's just the way it's going to be. If you say it like that, they're gonna be like, "Who you to tell me?" I mean, you're gonna be arguing stuff. But you got to start it with loving messages like, "Baby, I love you. Can we sit down and have a talk? I got something I really want to talk to you about, and it's serious." And then you say, I just been going along. We've been going along like this, and we're the way we're treating each other is just not gonna work. I'm treating you bad. You're treating me bad. How can we stop doing that? I know you love me and I know I love you, and we have these kids here and we want to make our marriage last. What can we, how can we solve this? See the difference? Instead of going in there, hey, you didn't wash the dishes, woman. And most guys don't talk like these days, but sometimes they get mad. They do. Hey, you didn't wash the dishes. When you gonna wash those dishes? Those dishes been sitting there for 30, 40, for 20 days or 5 days or whatever. Another rule is, man, to stop disrespect. If you ain't got a solution or ain't willing to do it yourself, man, don't be bitching and whining about it. Really. Because it just causes friction. It causes friction. Women are very touchy. They get their feelings all hurt and then they hold it against you and they get mad and then they start building it up. And then 10 years later, 5 years later, 2 years later, you come home and she wants us to divorce and stuff. But guys, you can stop this stuff. You can stop this. That's all you got to do, man, is remember that your wife loves you so much and you can hurt her very, very easily just by your tone of voice. Hell, man, y'all hear how I talk. If I talk to my wife like I'm talking to y'all, I'd be divorced in like a year. But we're men. We're men talking. We can talk like this. We can talk a little bit more like our normal self. But women, your wife, you can't, not women, but even women in general too, but your wife especially, man, you cannot have a harshness in your voice at all. Matter of fact, you need to be talking like a baby when you talk to them. That's how you talk to them so they don't take things as wrong. Okay. So examples of, when you insert boundaries of empathy and sympathy and stuff like that is, sweetheart, I love you and want to help you, but I can no longer stay here as you destroy our marriage by continuing to abuse drugs. You see how the lovingness in it, the sympathy, the empathy with her, and you calling her sweetheart and you letting her know that you care. And the only reason that you can't stay there is because, man, she's on drugs and she's hurting you and hurting the kids and everything. You got the boogie. Okay. And that's what I mean. You got to be careful when you talk to your wife, even when you're upset. The best way to keep disrespect, man, is like go calm down for a minute or just turn and walk away, man, until you calm down, or ask for permission to leave. Hey, I'm getting upset. Can I come back in a minute? Most people go, yeah, I understand, women, because they don't want to get yelled at. So good example of boundaries are cancel all the credit cards if your spouse refuses to curb spending. I got guys all the time. Everybody's got credit cards, then they get mad and they start going out spending money and stuff on stupid stuff and trying to buy a $10,000 lawyer and $20,000 lawyers and stuff and buying up stuff, and the debt is getting worse and worse and worse. Okay. And they're doing that to either hoard the money or to punish you for hurting them. Okay. Next, leave immediately. Every time your wife calls you a bad name, even if it means calling an Uber or taxi to get home from a party, restaurant, etc. If your wife calls your name, you don't sit there and take it. You leave immediately. You don't play that stuff. That's called, you're not going to disrespect me, man. Another thing y'all have to understand is when your wife and kids disrespect you in the home, they're disrespecting Jesus Christ too. Why? Because Jesus Christ has placed you as the authority figure in that home and the leader and the server. And so if they're disrespecting you, boom. That's why I say it really doesn't matter what you do. Today we all think that most of us think that we can, somebody makes us mad, that gives us the what's the word? That gives us the excuse, we'll say, to just treat them any old kind of way and call them names and scream at them and call them and say, you ain't a real man and all this kind of crazy mess. How far does that get that person to really listen to you? It don't. That's why folks get shot. Man, somebody got shot in the Walmart the other day. You know, it don't make sense because people can't shut their mouth. Okay, take separate cars. Rather than ride with a verbally abusive wife, you take a different car. Okay, if you know you're gonna be arguing stuff, or she's one always arguing and fight, just take a different car, man. So you ain't gotta put up with that stuff. You ride by herself. You ride by yourself. These are boundaries, man. And another thing with these boundaries, and not these are just examples, but another thing with boundaries, man, is you can't just do the boundary one or two times and then stop doing it because you're weak. You know, you weak and stuff. Oh, well, my mom, she's gonna get mad at me. Oh, the kids are gonna hate me. Oh. That's weak, man. That's weak. That is not of Christ. That is not of Christ, man. This was wrong with a lot of men today, and I used to be one of them. And we can't, if our wife's gonna get mad, our kids upset the kids, man, we ain't gonna do our job as a man. We ain't gonna whoop butt, we ain't gonna punish nobody, we ain't gonna not talk to people, we ain't gonna do nothing because we don't wanna, they're gonna be mad at me, but they mad at you anyway. This is what men don't realize. Your wife is not gonna respect you anyway. Your kids ain't gonna respect you anyway. Matter of fact, it's gonna be worse. At least if you put the boundaries in and you discipline people and you get your wife to treat you the way she's supposed to, at least you have respect in the home. On the marriage side, on the child side, you have respect, man. Because without respect, man, there's no way we can go further. There's no way. Okay? I'm gonna abuse you, you're gonna abuse me, and we're gonna hate each other, resent each other. All right? Okay. So remember, you can't just do a boundary one or two times. You gotta do it if it takes 25 times in a row, or 100 times in a row, or 500 times in a row. You do the boundary. Why? Because people ain't stupid. They don't do stuff that don't work. Your wife's not going to sit there and keep calling you names and calling you ain't a man and you a nigga and you this all this kind of crazy stuff. If you sit there and keep taking it, yeah, she gonna, because it works for her, right? Dude, if you just turn around and walk away, after a while, she'll be like, darn, I'm sitting here talking to myself. What's she gonna do? Sit there and argue with herself? Yes, it's gonna hurt you at first. It's going to hurt at first when you take your kid's phone or when you do whatever. Yes, it's going to hurt you. And that's why it's weak. Because I, as a husband and a father, and thinking about my own feelings, then what's the best for my wife and my child and our marriage and our family? I'm worried about my own feelings. This is the prime reason why men cannot focus on their feelings. It's not your job to focus on your feelings. It's your job to have common sense and logic. Your wife is wired for emotionalism and things like that. It's not a bad. People say, well, emotions is bad. No, emotions are not bad for women because women need that to what? To bond and nurture connect with the kids. And this is what people don't understand. That's why women go out and murder their babies. They go out and murder their babies because they use an emotion. They open their legs. They allow some man to take advantage of them. Then when he don't act right, well, the baby got to pay for it, right? We all know it's true. We all know it's true, man. Ain't nobody going to admit it, but it's the truth. It's truth, man. Okay? So please do all of your boundaries. What you do is you do them forever until the person changes, and they will change. They will change. Next, take separate cars. I did that. Next, hire a babysitter if your wife refuses to pick up the kids on time from school or properly share the parenting duties to give you time off or make you feel like a doormat. When people split up, then the wife really starts tripping, or the husband does too. We're talking about women and men today. Men set a different case. The man wants the marriage to work and the woman don't. She won't pick the kids up and stuff, making you pick them up all the time, making you in the house, making you do all this kind of crazy stuff. And you're like, man, dang, you gonna do something? I have to actually talk to my guys and say, fella, man, why you doing all the cooking? You doing all the chores? You taking care of all the maintenance on the house. You paying all the bills. I mean, physically sitting down and paying the bills, not making the money. You paying all the bills. You go take the car to the mechanic to get it fixed. You go get the oil change. You make sure that the tires are filled up. You take the kids to all the dirt practices and their little outings and stuff. Heck, man, what's your wife doing? Oh, well, yeah, man, she just laying in the bed, man. She in the bed. Yeah, man, that's crazy. You are a doormat. You are a doormat. Okay. So now these next two people gonna get on my butt for it. But listen, I'm talking about these things right here, I want you guys to be thinking this is the last resort. Okay. You've tried all the boundary techniques you can. You've tried to talk to your wife. You've tried to talk to your child. You've tried to, you just try. You've tried everything you can, and you're in the last resort. Like nothing you've done has worked, right? And so these last two things are what you have to do in order to get order and peace in your home and to get that person help because they are completely out of control. So this one is call 911 and have your child put in juvenile detention if they physically hit you. Dude, here's the deal with that one. You got a 15, 16-year-old boy. Sorry, he's a boy. And you guys are trying to have a calm discussion with him. You had talked to him 25 times. You took stuff away. You went up to his school, and he's still, he's doing what he's gonna do. So finally, you're saying, "Hey, man, you really can't be doing that stuff in the house, man. I just really need you to start respecting me and your mother and blah blah blah." You're trying to be cool with it, and I'm being nice right now. But let me tell you, and then somehow you guys get into a confrontation. He gets in your face. You push him off of you, and all of a sudden, you guys are sitting there, tumbling on the ground and stuff, father and son, crazy stuff. Or let's just say that don't even happen. Let's just say your son gets disrespectful and pushes you or hits you. What you gonna do? Here's what you do. You show the real power you got. You pick up the phone. Hello, this is Johnny Johnson. I have an unruly kid in my house. He just struck me. Would you please send the police? So why would I say that? You know why? It's because if you hit him and knock him out and hurt him, which will probably happen because you're older, probably stronger still, and you have more experience, he's going to get hurt. Okay. So what you do is you use big daddy government because they always want to be in your business anyway. You call them and you have the police come. They're going to be bigger than him, stronger than him. It's two of them. They got guns and they're going to talk right to him and say, "Listen, if I got to come back here again, your butt is going to juvenile detention for the night." And guess where the respect level is going to go? Whoosh. Now, I'm not going to say he's going to respect you immediately. What I'm saying is he's not going to be hitting on you and talking bad to you and calling you names and disrespecting you like that anymore. Why? Because I did you're going to be thinking, I did what I had to do because I had an unruly daughter or an unruly son in my house, and they don't want to listen or be under control. And so I have to do what I can to protect my wife and stuff. Man, listen, I know teenagers, man. Look, a lot of things that people don't understand too, man. You let stuff go too far. I coach boys football for boys for years and years and years. And I'm telling you, there are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old boys that I know that if you don't control them, they're going to control your house. They're going to be the ones running your house. They bigger, they weigh 200 pounds and 150 pounds stuff. And their mama can't control them no more. You know why? Because that relationship with her husband or her and her boyfriend didn't work out. So the older that boy gets, man, and the daughter too, the older that boy gets, he gonna start smelling himself, and his hormones gonna start disrespecting his mother and stuff. That's what women can't control a big 15, 16-year-old boy, no matter how much they think they can. They can't. If it gets physical, she's out of luck unless she take a skillet and bust him in the head or something while he sleep. I've had mothers do that too. Daughters the same way. Calling you all kind of names, losing control, and don't want to listen. Get rid of them. That's how you do. You get rid of them, and you have the police come get them and take them if they don't act right. Why? Because especially if you got little kids in the house, man. You got little kids in the house. You can't be. You got to show the little kids how you guys are supposed to do things, and you let the older kids act out. What's going to happen is you're just going to have an unruly house. Okay. Now, the next one, calling 911 to have your wife put on a psychiatric 72-hour hold if your wife hits you, is physically and mentally out of control, or threatens to harm herself physically. This protects you, your kids, and your wife from herself. People don't really realize you got a grown woman, 20 years old, 50 years old, whatever. She's lost her mind. She ain't taking her medicine. You trying to put in boundaries, and you try to walk away and go get in the car, and she run and jump on your back and pull you down to the ground and stuff. You can't talk to her. Dude, I've had that. Guys will not call the police on their wife. Man, that's crazy. Because if you hit her, or you kind of push to the side and try to take your arms and push her back and put her on the bed and say, like, would you stop? And you put a scratch on her, she gonna call police on you. Why? Because she's out of her mind. And she's angry. She's pissed off. And you're not listening. Another thing, too, when you as a husband don't listen to your wife, and you start walking away and start trying to protect yourself and the kids, they get mad. They get even more mad. But the thing about it is you have to put boundaries in place, man, because eventually she'll stop doing that silly stuff. She will, because it doesn't work. The reason your wife is hitting you in the back of the head, is dragging you down the floor, is calling you names and being vulgar to you. Now, these are extremes. That's what I'm telling y'all. This is extreme. This is the last, and I've had cases like this. This is the extreme, okay? But I'm telling you the extreme. I told you the cool back, the laid back stuff. Now I'm telling you the extreme stuff. You got a woman like that, the way you protect her is you call the police. They come over there and say, listen, she did all this and that and that. They gonna take her and put her in psychiatric ward for 3 days so she calmed down. And guess how many more times your wife is gonna drag you down the floor and hit you and all that kind of stuff? I would say, 0. Because she don't want to go with the pads at the psychiatric place. She don't want to go to jail. But man, these days, you can't even touch a woman. What else you gonna do? You're trying to get in your car and leave, and she grabbing you by the shirt and scratching you and hitting you. And I had one woman, man, the man's in the car, man, he's trying to get away from a man. She gets in the car in her SUV and chasing him down the street, man. He's trying to do the right thing. What do you do in that situation? You let the big daddy government do their job. That's what you do. Now, this sounds good, but this will piss off my wife and kids. See, Jerry, I understand what you're saying. This is going to piss off my wife. This is going to piss off my kids. They're going to hate me. This is what I mean about using your emotions. They hate you now anyway. They hate you anyway. They don't like you. They don't respect you anyway. So what you going to do? Okay, so what is the alternative to being a wuss and allowing disrespect to go unchecked? Mismanagement of money. You will go broke and have no retirement, or far less retirement than you should have. Name calling. You will continue to receive verbal abuse from your wife, which encourages your children to do the same to you or worse. Car ride. Continue to endure verbal abuse from your wife as you ride in the car. Worse yet, be trapped inside a moving vehicle with no way out of the car. Doormat parenting. You become more resentful and stressed out because you are the only one doing all the proper parenting. Juvenile detention for your child. There comes a point when you have done all of the loving communication you can. Take everything away from your child that you could, have restricted all the activities that you can with your child, even spanked your child. And the last resort is to get them out of the house because they are damaging your marriage and the family and must be put under control. And understand that continuing to challenge authority has consequences. This is all about consequences because you're doing what's best for your child in the future. And I'm telling you, later on, they will thank you. And if their father or mother won't control them, society has drastic means that will. Please hear what I'm saying. If you as a parent, I had my friend Michael O'Rourke on my podcast last month or the month before, and at the end of the podcast, he does strong Catholic dad. So his focus, mine is marriage. He is just really focusing on being a good father. And I asked him. Now he's an expert now. I said, hey man, what do you do? If you don't control your kid, you don't spank your kid to get your kid under control, whatever you got to do. He said, well, Jeremy, I'll tell you the truth. If you don't control your kid as a parent, society will. And that's the truth. You've got to endure like Christ. You've got to endure suffering and sacrifice now and pain now to stop that crap in the future. Remember, Discipline is what you do for someone, not to someone. And if we refuse to properly discipline our child, we must ask ourselves, are we doing this to prevent them from hurting or ourselves from feeling the pain of being a proper parent? Psychiatric hold for your wife. Many times, mentally ill people refuse to acknowledge they are mentally ill. They won't take their medication or get it adjusted. They won't pray, go to mass or confession. They won't allow you to properly love and help them. So, what are you to do when a person refuses to help themselves or allow you to help them and they begin to emotionally, mentally, and physically shut down, lose control, and harm you, themselves, or the children? Answer: you get them away and force them to get help. If we don't, are we doing for this for our wife's benefit, or trying to prevent ourselves from feeling bad, uncomfortable, or our wives being upset with us? The hallmark of true and authentic masculinity, which is Jesus Christ, is doing what must be done in the eyes of God, even when we will suffer the pain that follows. Putting it all together, gentlemen, putting it all together. Suffer now or suffer worse longer. Yes, I said it. Get respect, love, and insert boundaries to stop the madness. Either choose to suffer less now or endure the pain longer while suffering worse. As always, it truly is in your hands as the leader and server of that home. Our neediness and fear of losing a favorable relationship with our wife and children feeds the demon. We must be willing to lose to gain. If we aren't, then our wife and children will continue their behavior towards us. While this may seem less painful in the short term, it breeds disrespect not just for you, but for God Himself as well. What happens when your children begin to treat their girlfriend or their boyfriend or the police or teachers like they treat you? From experience, I'll tell you, they will always have terrible and dysfunctional relationships, be put in prison, or kicked out of school. Again, suffer now or suffer worse later. If you want more help in this area, there's a book called Overcome Neediness and Get the Love You Want by Dr. Jack Ito. So I say to you, men, be you wuss or be you warrior. Bam. If you're getting value from this podcast and would like more personal marriage help, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an opportunity to work with me personally for free. Yes, within 30 days, learn how to become a better husband that attracts your wife back to you. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com and get a plan tailored specific to your marriage and situation. I've helped hundreds of men in their marriages. Allow me the chance to help you using my personal and gained experience. Visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior coaching for your marriage. Again, SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com. That's SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com to become the man God created you to be and the husband your wife needs. Lastly, I always get the question, why don't you help women? And I always answer them, I do. So, for all of you beloved wives out there that want to reignite that feeling of emotional closeness and complete love from your hubby, consider marriage coaching and visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for an improved marriage within 30 days. All right. We are back. And just for quick review, just to understand, boundaries are important. Disrespect only gets worse. It doesn't get better. If we don't nip disrespect in the bud when it first happens with our child or with our wife, they will get comfortable. As men, we know this. We know if we say something or treat somebody a certain way as a man and they accept it, well, that's kind of how we treat them all the time. It's because it becomes a habit. And so today I covered the less extreme boundaries we put in, and then I covered the extreme boundaries that when you have no other choice, what you must do. So what you have to do as a man now is decide, what am I going to do? But no matter what you do, everything you do must be of loving messages. You must tell your wife, I love you and I care about you. And I'm only doing this to protect us, to our marriage and our family and our souls with God. And you have to try your best to love her, even though she's doing things that are disrespectful or harming to herself. And believe it or not, there are a lot of people. Your marriage may be bad, but there are people that are worse. What worse? Your marriage may be bad, but there are people with way better marriages than yours. Okay, so I want you just to take from these two shows is that there's room for improvement. That never, we do not let anybody in your home get in the habit of being have no manners, of being rude, of being of having of disrespect and things like that, man, because it's our job as parents to make sure that these things don't happen in our marriage. If we do it in our marriage, our kids are going to do it. Okay. Or our kids themselves. The love, nobody likes change, gentlemen. Nobody does. And what we must do is know that change is necessary sometimes to get the result that we need. And people are going to resist. They're going to fight back. They're going to be angry and mad. But if you're strong and you're like Christ and you lean on Christ and you pray and engage in spiritual warfare, he will give you the strength to do what must be done in your home. God love you. So with that being said, we end today, as we always do, with the quote from Pope Benedict XVI, which states, society offers you comfort, but you weren't made for comfort. You were made for greatness. Now go forth, Christian soldier. The spiritual fight is up on you. Fast, pray, and prepare for battle. Thank you for listening in today. If what you heard helped you in any way and you would like more personal attention, visit SaveMyCatholicMarriage.com for superior marriage coaching. And remember to join the Catholic Alpha Radical Live podcast as a caller or listener every Tuesday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern. To join as a caller, dial area code 313-RADICAL. To join as a listener or view the live stream, visit the Catholic Alpha Radical Live Facebook page or visit CatholicAlpha.com for Catholic marriage help that actually works. Bam!